Hello. Today's installment of Stepwise Utility Advisors video education series is a presentation called What is a Revenue Requirement? I'll be presenting today. I'm Jason Mumm. I'm founder and president of Stepwise Utility Advisors. Our offices are in Denver, Colorado, but we serve clients across the United States and Canada. Many of the readers of our blog and our clients ask us about the term revenue requirement. They're not familiar with the term, and they know that it has something to do, however, with their rates and charges that are being assessed from their water or sewer utility provider. We're going to explain the term revenue requirement today in this video series. In future series, we'll describe a lot more about revenue requirements and their impact on your water and sewer utility rates. What we need to know today is that revenue requirements really just measure the costs that the utility incurs. As the costs go up, the rates go up with them, and customers end up having to pay more. So it's not uncommon during a rate adjustment from the City Council or from your elected Board of Representatives for the water and sewer utility that the term revenue requirement would come up within the context of the rates going up at the same time. A revenue requirement is the same thing as saying the total annual cost of doing business. We can imagine that we have annual cash payments in a utility for things like assets, labor, and capital. We need to meet those cash payments with sources from user rates and other places. The total of those sources is the total annual revenue. So the revenue requirement is the amount of revenue that's required to meet the annual cash payments. An easy way to look at a revenue requirement is to think of it in the same way you would think of your own personal monthly budget. If we were to look at a normal monthly budget, or an example, we would find that we pay money for food, we have to pay money for utilities and clothes, we might have a car payment that we need to make, we try to put some money into savings every month, and then of course we have a mortgage. Our income from all of our sources, like salary for example, needs to be able to equal all of those costs. Otherwise, we're losing money. Sometimes we have big expenses, things that only happen once in a while, and these challenge our monthly budget. For example, we have our normal costs of food, clothing, and otherwise, and then we find out that we need to put a new roof on the house. Well, our normal income isn't going to be enough to pay for that new roof, and so we have to come up with other sources to pay for it. And those might include savings or borrowing some money to make up the difference. If we have a lot of big recurring expenses, we're going to need to increase our income so that we can pay for them on an ongoing basis. In the previous example, we borrowed some money to pay for the new roof, and so if we look back at our budget, we're going to find that our costs are going to go up to make that new payment on the debt that we just incurred to get the roof put in place. So if our monthly income remains the same, we won't be able to make that payment. We're going to have to find a way to increase that monthly income in order to make everything work like we want it to. Water and sewer utilities have a lot of those big expenses, like our new roof. Things like pipelines and water treatment equipment and the land and water that needs to be purchased to run a utility and provide service to customers can cost tens of millions of dollars, even for small utilities, and can easily cost hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars, for much larger utilities. The cost of the water or sewer utility can increase for any of these reasons. Normal operating costs, debt payments, and the amount of money that utilities put into reserve all drive the total costs and therefore the revenue requirement. From one year to the next, we can see changes in our normal operating costs. If nothing else changes, inflation can be expected to increase the normal operating costs by anywhere between 1 to 4%, depending on overall inflation that year. If we've borrowed money to pay for new projects, new treatment plants, new pipelines, and things of that nature, then our debt payments might have gone up as well. And so you could see differences in your costs just because you have to pay more debt payments in a year. And then if we want to keep putting money into our reserve or our savings account, we need to account for a certain amount of money that we're going to want to recover from our revenue so that we can keep doing that. And providing money into our reserve or savings account then prevents us from having to borrow as much money in the future, and that is a good thing. In the end, we need to make sure that the costs that we incur are equal to the revenue that we earn in the utility. And so just like we had with our monthly budget example, we have costs for the utility that come up to a certain level, and if we want to not lose money, we need to make sure that the revenue equals that level. If costs go up because either we have more operating costs, more debt payments, or for whatever reason we need to increase the amount of money we're saving, then that's going to increase the need for us to find more revenue. And then, of course, this is what leads to the rate increase that you hear about from your city council or elected board or read in the papers. So today we learned a little bit about revenue requirements and the basic definition that goes with that term. In the future, we'll cover more advanced topics related to revenue requirements and other elements of utility rates and charges. In the meantime, if you'd like to learn a little bit more, go ahead and check our blog, subscribe to our e-letter, or maybe follow us on our Twitter stream, all of which you can do at our website at stepwiseadvisors.com. Thanks for listening.